screen.
I love what Jodi just said. We are ready to jump through the screen. Hello and welcome to this episode of Be Bougie, Be Hippie. It's me, Eileen. I'm going to take a deep breath because I am so excited for the guest I have on today. My friend Jodi Stojic. We have been in one another's lives for over 20 years. And today, Jodi is on the show to share her experience, strength, and hope, what the universe, what God, what her higher power has done with her life. And I cannot wait for you to hear all the wisdom, all the love, and the connections that you will have with Jodi's story. So, hi, welcome to the show.
Well, first I want to say thank you for that little intro. And yeah, it's been like 25 years.
25, 24.
High school biology was like when we really got connected, and then we just soared on with life. And here we are at
Almost 40. Here we go.
2000, let's use the year 2025. Well, thank you for bringing me in here.
Yes.
And thank you for this chance to connect and reconnect.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us just where you are in the world right now? And so, yes, Jodi and I have known each other since high school. Really quick, funny story about that, talking about divine timing. I was not meant to be in that biology class because I was in AP courses. And that was not that was not an AP course. But the reason why I got put in that class is because, surprise, surprise, the teacher I had the semester before didn't like the way that I talked to her. So she
I
put
didn't
me
know that.
in the biology class, and I was like, I see you and I see what you're doing. And I'm so grateful because you and I connected in that class.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so divine timing. But anyway, where in the world are you? And let's start with your sober journey.
Beautiful journey. Well, I will start backwards, actually. I'm in the best place that I've ever been in my life at this exact moment, here and now. My heart is full. My life is full. I'm extremely grateful for every single step of the way that brought me right here, right now with you on this recording, this camera. It's a blessing and a gift, and I'm so grateful for it. And I just like to say that, like, every step of the way that I'm going to share is that I wouldn't change it. I absolutely wouldn't change it for a second. And what led me to where I am today has been a bumpy road, lots of hills, lots of curvy roads, lots of ups and downs and all that good stuff. But my sobriety brought me to where I am today. And with the grace of God, I'm here today still, being able to share this story, share this journey with others or with you or wherever it goes. I don't know. It's divine's guidance where it's going to go. But I'm just not going to use any years, but besides 2013, which is when my family had like the 5th intervention with me and said, you got to get your shit together. And I'm like, I don't think so. And through conversations with them, they said, I think you need some help. Do you want the help? And now I'm like thinking back to the words my uncle was using. Do you want the help? And I'm like, I don't even know what sober is. I don't even know what sobriety is. I don't know. I just want to get my life together. But yeah, I do. Didn't know where that was going to lead, but I was open to getting the help, right? I accepted it and went to my aunt and uncle's house, which was a great blessing. Put me on a plane to Florida, where my parents moved to, and went to my mom and dad's and thought I was going to be there and didn't know that they were going to drive me to rehab the next day. And I'm like, I guess it's pretty serious. You know what? I'll take it. I need a break from life. I'm like, I just couldn't get it together. With the support around me, I couldn't see that what was happening. And I really didn't know what sober meant. I didn't know what, like, going into recovery or what the journey. I just had no clue. So I went in and I said, I'm going to rehab for 30 days and then I'm going home. home was New Jersey. My parents lived in Florida. My other family members were there. And I thought I would just go back. And I'm like, what would I even go back to? So I started to really open up and figure out what is this? Anyway, so that was the beginning of the journey. It led me to Florida, led me to South Florida, and went through the process, 30 days. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave the treatment center after 30 days as they were ready to put me into sober living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm scared. Don't put me back out there. Yeah. I can't. And then there are other people within the treatment center who were like, yeah, I'm ready. I'll play a basketball game against you. And if I win, you put me in sober living. And I remember the moment that I started to have feelings again and emotions again. And like, we're in this group meeting there, and I look, and I'm scared to go to sober living because I didn't want to go back out there yet. And this kid, he's like 18 years old, I remember, and I'm listening to him wager his life for the basketball game against like the owner of the treatment center. His name was Gus. Amazing, amazing man. And I look at him, I was like, are you seriously wagering your life? You're going to die if you go out there. You're wagering your life for a basketball game? Like, give yourself a little bit more credit. And I was like, sorry that emotion came out, but I'm like really concerned for you. I really care about you, like, don't do it. Anyway, so I overcame my fear, went to sober living, and it was like a journey for a long time. Very long journey.
Florida.
In Florida. And I stayed in Florida. And I was like, my parents shipped all my stuff, like all my clothes, all my belongings, everything to the sober living house. And I'm like, okay, it looks like I'm going to be here a little bit longer. So I just fully emerged, tried to understand, went to meetings. You're sitting in a sober living house for 24 hours, right? You get put in a sober living house and they tell you, go to a meeting. Find a job and go to a meeting. I'm like, okay, but there's a lot of other hours during that day. Like, what do? You just go hang out with friends, you meet people, you do this. And I just feel like I remember it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. I just was like, I need something more. Mm-hmm. And I know that about myself, and I just kept reaching for something more. I fell backwards a couple times, and I just kept going forward. Every time I fell, I got stronger and stronger.
What was the mindset? I just want to interrupt you there for anybody who's listening, because I feel like sobriety is huge. Like you said, it's a life or death. And I feel the same way. It's such a gift now. But what would you say to people who fall off, the horse, or, they need to get back on the wagon in a sense of life? Because I feel like everybody can relate to sobriety in one form of their life or another. So what was that mindset? Because I don't want to just skim over the fact that
I know it's hard. There's so much that slow me down.
Because it's so powerful, because in those moments of you wanted it, you knew it was a life or death, and yet you still, fell back or quote unquote messed up. But what gave you the grace within yourself, or what was the mindset when you kept going even when you felt like you messed up?
Okay, I can put myself back into that. I didn't have grace. Truth. I was so hard on myself. Like, you're gonna do it or you're gonna die trying. Yeah. Every time. And I would be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What is the purpose of all this? Or why me? Why? I told myself, I'm going into treatment and I'm never going back. I had people that were like there 6-7 times. And I'm like, no fucking way. I'm not going back. And I told myself, and then I would go back and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, I need to get completely aware of my thoughts, of my thinking, of my path. And I just kept telling myself, okay, when I went back, I'm not going to go back again, but I'm going to do everything and try. Let me do it step by step. What does my day look like? What do I need to do? And then I started journaling. Mm-hmm. I had to, because I had I had to catch my thoughts. I had to catch my actions. What am I doing that I'm not even noticing? How did I end up here? In the beginning, I was like, okay, where did this come from? And then I kept telling myself, like, just do it. Just keep going. I'm not going to die from doing it. That's not how I want to go out in life. I don't want to be remembered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Passing away unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even want to say it, but I didn't want that. But I knew I didn't want to die either. This is a big one for me. And being in recovery and stuff, you hear plenty of stories. But that was one thing, like when I first met Dean, which I'll get into. He's like, I need to know. Do you want to live? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you don't want to die. And I'm like, he's like, are you sure? I was like, I promise. I don't. I want to live. And then I had this moment. Oh gosh. I ended up having surgery, which is crazy. Like a month. I think I was still in treatment. I don't remember. I guess like treatment, or I had just gone to sober living. I can't even remember right now. But I had my pain in my gallbladder, and I kept having this pain, and it would come at like at the end of the night, and I'm like, it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna stop breathing, or if it's a sign, right? Like, what is happening to my body? I know I'm clean now, so maybe like it's my body telling me, okay, these are the things that you need to work on or fix or get healthy, whatever it was. Went to the hospital. They found out it was gallstones, and I'm like, how do I live with this? It's so painful. Like, what do I do? I'm in recovery. Like, no pain meds, no none of that.
Yeah.
And eventually it just went away, and like went back to the treatment center. And 4 days later, it happened again. Like extreme pain. Like I'm like, I don't know if I have to throw up or I'm gonna pass out. I don't know what this is. So
Sober pain is the worst, especially when it happens the first time you get sick in sobriety. It feels like you've never been sick before. So I empathize so much with you especially in early sobriety. Here's the test. I feel like from a broader perspective, you can see there, your God's like, okay, Jodi, what are you going to do?
So that's what this moment was, one of those moments. Let me backtrack really quick. To learn about what recovery is when I was in treatment, I didn't have a clue. What the hell are the 12 steps? I seriously had no idea. And they're just like talking about it. Nobody said, I want to teach you. And I'm going to go back to Live Rich, why it's not called a program, it's called a training, because of that reason. So I didn't know. So I started to understand. And then they're talking about God, and I'm like, I believe in God, 100%. I know that. But what does that really mean? Mm-hmm. Well, he speaks to you. And I was like, what? And I asked, I'm like, what does that mean? How do you hear God? Like, how do you hear? And they say he speaks through other people, or he gives you signs. And then it started to open me up to the whole full understanding, not just, okay, I believe, I know, great, he's there, but I want to actually tune in and I want to feel it. So I started to understand he speaks through you. So fast forward to that moment when I started to have the pain again, which I don't have anymore. It's not here, it's there. And I'm like, I gotta throw up or something. And I went to the bathroom, and I'm like, this is very vivid, but I was over the toilet, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. And I think I'm gonna die. And everything went white, everything went blank. And I had this moment of heaven, and it was scary. Eileen, it was so scary. And I was having this thought like, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought it was supposed to be better than it is here in this reality. And these are my thoughts. I thought it was supposed to be better than here. And I was so scared. And I was like, no, I don't want to go there, because it's not better than life is here. I'm not going. I'm not going.
Wow. Wow. In the world of energy, I would categorize that as astro projecting and having this moment of divine intervention of, you are not ready to be here, so we're not going to make it sweet or kind or
It's
comfortable.
not beautiful. It's not blissful. You're not going now. Yeah.
Wow.
That is a big, big moment. So yeah, I was like, no, 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 I don't want to die. So went to the hospital and got taken to the hospital. Told me, yes, it's gallstones. And I'm like, I'm not leaving this hospital until they're gone. I'm not going through this again. And ended up going to get surgery the next day. They did give me pain meds the next day, but it was in the hospital. But it just took me on a run. So I left, and then that's part of the relapse and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back, and then I got moved to a different sober living, which is when I met my roommate, Allie. Allie was this girl in sobriety for a year, and I was like, shit, good for you. Like, you got a year. What does that mean? What does life look like? So I started watching her life, right? You got to find somebody that is doing it, and you want to model them.
I just got chills.
And I was like, I want to find somebody that has everything that I want or I'm looking for, which I didn't really know what that was. So I was on exploring, and I was like, okay, let me find is it a sober coach? Maybe that person will have a little bit more knowledge. So I was constantly seeking more knowledge, more learning, more growth. And meetings didn't necessarily give that to me. And so I was on a adventure looking for something to pull me higher, to bring me closer to God, to give me that sense of purpose. So I was just really seeking. And sober living, get a job, like I said, get a job, go to a meeting. None of that did it for me. And so I was missing something anyway. So meet Allie. Allie has a great, somewhat very complacent life, right? Easy. She's sober. She's going to keep it easy. And she was working for a pharmaceutical company. And I'm like, wait. And my dream job was to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. Do you remember those that like they carry the little
Yeah,
suitcase
come
into
door
the
to door.
hospital? You meet with doctors, you meet with nurses, and you're in a hospital environment. And I loved a hospital environment. I graduated, I have my bachelor's degree to work with children in hospital. And it was working with them one-on-one. When they go to surgery, it was called a child life specialist. And when they go to surgery, I would go in and distract them from the anxiety. I would help the parents from the anxiety of the child going in for surgery. And I would just work with them to distract them and cope them. And I was really working side by side with the doctor or the nurses so that they can do the procedure and the kid's not screaming crying. I had a beautiful experience and I loved it. However, as the years went by, I realized like I really don't think that's my calling. And then the pharmaceutical industry was my calling. So Allie was working as a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I'm visualizing her, and I'm like, it doesn't match my blueprint. It doesn't match what I imagined. So I was like, okay, what is that like? And she's like, well, it's over the phone. It's inside sales. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. Are you guys hiring? And she's like, hold on, let me text my boss. And I'm like, what? I come from New York. Like, I mean, New York, New Jersey. You got to
Right.
work the corporate ladder to text your boss. For me,
Yeah.
that was like unheard of. And you're a pharmaceutical rep, and you're going to text your boss. I'm like, that's cool. And so she texts her boss, whose name is Dean, and she says, "Hey, are we hiring?" He says, "Sure. If it's your friend, we'll bring her in. It's a referral. Like, I trust you." So the next day, I literally just threw some clothes on. I brought my resume. God knows what it looked like, and I just went in. These are moments of divine intervention, Eileen. Like, if I think back to how the heck I got there, I have no idea. It was complete guidance. And I really believe, I mean, now I do definitely divine guidance. And you just got to follow it. Follow your heart, follow what you believe. You have nothing to lose. And I just went with it.
I
Showed
love that.
up for the interview. He comes out of the office, and I was like, oh, he's a young guy. Like, I don't know. You just have these like preconceptions. Like,
Yeah, you're right. This is
yeah,
what success looks like. This is
yeah,
how
yeah,
you think
yeah, yeah.
success is. This is, and
Exactly.
I think too, in that moment, like whether we subconsciously understand it or not, it's putting a barrier between us and success. But I love how you said, you want to find somebody who has what you want or similar to what you have. And that is why community is so freaking important. And you and I have so much aligned beliefs when it comes to AA. Like AA served a purpose for a very long time. For me, it was the community. But the stuff that I did on, behind closed doors by myself of who am I, what is going on here, is what led to these divine yeses. Yeah, I'll try that. Yes, I'll do that. Why not? So you mentioned Dean's name, and just by mentioning his name, I got chills. So can you tell us a little bit about, so now you're working for this pharmaceutical company, your boss is Dean, and what happens there? Like, what did he say? Where is the spark? Because you guys really do have such a strong, you are soulmates, you have a soul connection, and your story is beautiful from what I know.
So went in, got the job, started working, and listening to the way that he was speaking in our meetings, I'm like, wow, I think I prayed for this moment. I was like, I really prayed for somebody to speak in a way that I loved and I can resonate with and that my soul would feel and understand. And I'm like, I'm at work. Like, what? That's not possible. Like, how does that happen? Right. And so a month later, it was a month later, he texts me on a Saturday morning. And I was living with Allie, who worked there as well. And Dean texts me on a Saturday morning. And I was like, he's like, hey, do you want to get coffee? And I'm like, he had a wife who also worked with us at the time. And I walked into Allie's office, and this is a pivotal moment. So I had to fully trust. So I walk into Allie's room, and I'm like, Dean just texted me for coffee. What's that about? And I'm like, I don't cross any lines. Like, that's not how it's going to go. And she's like, oh, it's totally cool. He does that with all his employees. And I was like, oh, so it's fine? She's like, yeah, he just wants to get to know you outside of work and whatever. I was like, okay, I'm a little nervous, but fine. Like, I like that. I appreciate that. Eileen, we go to have coffee and ended up having ice cream up by the beach. He picked me up. We went and we just sat there and we just started talking. And I'm sharing about recovery and where I'm at and what's happening. And he's sharing about his life and these experiences. And I'm like, seriously, those things happen? He's like, yeah. And then we started to talk and he goes, are you telling me what I want to hear? And I'm like, I don't even know you. How can I tell you? Like, how do you expect me to tell you what you want to hear? I don't have a clue. He's like, wow. And we just connected on this personal growth, this soul-filled connection that both of us, I still to this day says, both of us were looking for that deep connection for years. Deep connection for years. And it just, at that moment, he shared that he had this vision of us like on a stage sharing our experiences and working together and just being, just aligned 100%. And I'm like, okay, this is just crazy to me. I just met you. Like, we just got to know each other. That was the moment that we realized, like, both of us were put into each other's lives for the exact reason that we were put into each other's lives. So much so that we started going to the gym in the morning. Like, he was really guiding me. I mean, he'd been through life. He's older than I am. He'd been through life. And he was just like, he just saw, I guess, what was good for me that I didn't know what was good for me. And he could see me better than I was. And he was able to see what was better for me than I saw what was good for me. And that was the funny thing. I'd always say that, like, I could feel, and he would use his words to share what I'm feeling. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. He can, and that was our relationship. And it transpired into work environment. I'm the director of sales and procurement within TDS Med still to this day. And he's the CEO, and we would just hold our meetings and share and align. And we were just constantly growing together. We'd been to Tony Robbins events together. Now to this day, we're married, happily married with a beautiful relationship. And our relationship is our priority. Our mission is our priority as well. And it's all intertwined and weaved in the web of the divine and God. And right, like, he was put in my life. I know that. It started to feel good. It started to make sense. We were always together. We were always communicating. We shared everything. We understood things about each other that maybe each didn't understand. And then all of a sudden, I started to Google. I remember I'm driving to work one morning and I Googled synchronicities. And I'm like, what the heck are synchronicities? And I'm
So
like,
this is beautiful. I just want to, because again, I don't want to skirt over like these little moments of magic. And so people who are listening to this, who are, it's February, which means nothing to me in the sense of love, but it's a commercialized,
wow.
month for love. And when you say this connection, what do you think the most important thing? Say you're speaking to a person who's looking for love, who's trying to find or manifest or create the perfect partner. Like, what do you say to that person who's trying to experience this?
So at the time, right, like I can say now that I'm in it, it's different. And now that I think back, I remember praying one night, like, this is gonna sound wild, but I did it. And I remember praying, like, you know what? A tall, dark haired, handsome man. Like, I bring him into my life. And what's interesting is I had a vision of somebody else, and Dean showed up.
Mhm.
God said, I think you want that, but I know you need this. And I know this is, I know. And within 3 days, I remember exactly where I was praying and in that sober living. And then I think it was like a week and a half later was when I went in for the interview. So I would say pray and
Mm.
envision like the emotion, the feeling, not what he looks like or anything like that. But my emotion was so strong. Like I was like, I definitely need something like this for life.
Mm.
But now I think about it now from this perspective and all the learning and the growth and experience that I've had and how we live our lives today. And I would still actually say the same thing.
Mm.
Feel what you want to feel from that relationship. Feel it now. And you
Mhm.
use the word trying to get into a relationship, right? You and I both know there's no trying, right? If you're trying, you're going to fail.
Right, right.
Feel within yourself what you want to feel when in that relationship. And most important is, how do you want to give? That's
I think
most important. Not
that's,
what am
yeah.
I going to get? What do I want to give? We both, him and I, still say this, like okay, he'll say, God, I just love you so much. Like I mean, I'm crazy about you. Are you okay that I'm crazy about you? And I'm like, yes, sometimes I don't understand how you're so crazy about me. But like I get it. And I looked at him and I look at him and I'm like, I know that it's actually more important for you to feel love towards me than feel that I love you so much. Like being able to feel love and express it and give that is the ultimate gift. So I would tell somebody, feel as if you're giving that to somebody else.
That's going to flip the switch in so many people because this day and age, what do I get? What does that person have? What can they give me? Where are my babies? Where is my house? Where is my, it's so surface level. And I always say it's an inside job and you can relay that to absolutely anything. I love that. I love that.
You know what? And when we first met, I was like, oh my God, he needs a he needs a friend in his life. He needs
Mm.
love in his life. And we were just friends. Like this was just soul to soul friends. And it was just sparks were flying and it was even more powerful. And we were connecting. We would sit on the couch and just talk and stop time. And I can remember the day that it happened. Just like, what just happened? What? Whoa. God, where have you been my whole life? These are the things that I would say. And it was, and at one moment, the mind can get in the way. Early stages of my recovery and of maturity. I would even say, like, I'm growing up, right? I was 28, still trying to figure things out. My maturity, it's like, my mind would get in the way. Like, what's happening? And the thing, actually, this was a big one. Just don't think about it. And boom, immediately I dropped into my heart and just kept following my heart. The moment my mind is like, no, maybe not. What is it? Blah, blah. Just don't think about it.
Yeah.
The game
Heart
changer.
center. I love
And
that.
you have no, where's your energy going to go? If it's not up here, it's got to go here. And I would just constantly follow my heart, follow my heart, follow my heart. And was that almost 12 years? I think October will be 12 years since we met and happily married, and we've gone through it. Him knowing my recovery and him knowing sobriety and him tuning into that energy of what it means to be sober and what it means to be in recovery and what that truly means to me. He just aligned and went in 100% with me. I'm like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. I told him, I was like, you don't have a clue. He's like, but I'm up to it. I was like, are you sure? This is early on. I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll let you in. I told him, like, you don't want to deal with this. It's the devil. Like, it's dark. And that was 2013, and he's been with me ever since. And by the grace of God, he's been here with me. I mean, he just had so much love in his heart to give all the time. Like, he was, whenever, like, I'd be like, no, how can you love me like this? This is what I used to say. How can you love me? I don't, like, or how can you like me? I mean, I don't understand. I'm crazy. This is insane. He's like, I do. You can't tell me to love you or not love you. That's not up to you. And I'm like, I know, but I'm a little nuts.
Yeah.
I'm on my way, but I'm a little crazy. And so, the journey was like that. It's still like that. Our relationship is our priority, and I trust him, and I've tested him over and over again, like women do. And he just constantly shows up. We like to say that he would always steal seconds. So if we're talking about a relationship, take that 3 seconds. Your day is busy. You got to be productive. You got to go to a meeting. You got to shower. Like, our mornings are like 2 hours long before our day even starts. And we do it together. And some days I'm like, I got to go. Okay, I have like 15 minutes, whatever. 2 seconds, comes in for a hug. 2 seconds, makes me coffee. 2 seconds, I make him breakfast. He was used to, like, I was living by myself. So Saturdays and Sundays, I would be by myself. And this was the inner work that I was doing, if you want me to get into that.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I was working full time, Monday through Friday. And then I would have Saturdays and Sundays by myself. And I'm like, it's a little scary, right?
Free time. Yeah. I remember that feeling. It is scary being
It was lonely.
alone with self.
So it was after work at 5:30, I would go home by myself, right? Because you're focused, you have things to do, take action. And then I'm like, now what? You see my clock?
Yeah.
You know what time it is? 9:07. And this is what I'm just about to tell you. So I'd be working, and I Googled synchronicities. Sorry, the point of this was Dean, he would always steal seconds. So Saturdays and Sundays, I'd be by myself, and he had his life, right? He had his kids and everything in his life. But the moment that he had maybe an hour, he'd say, hey, what are you doing? You want to go grab coffee? He would steal those seconds for us, steal those minutes. I say steal seconds, but it was like an hour. And I'd go and meet coffee, and we would just connect and talk and whatever and just share love. And then we would go on. We were thinking, that's been going on for 12 years. He still does that today. He still does that.
Prioritizing what's important. Everything I hear you saying, because I know, like, your background and, what you guys have created together. But when you find that soul connection, it puts everything else into perspective, and it everything else falls in line and prioritizes. And that's where I feel like so many people, when you learn to love yourself, when you learn to sit with self, when you learn to trust your God gut, then you are put in alignment with these people who are meant to propel your soul purpose to, I use the term soul quenching. Like it quenches your soul, and then you have no other choice but to expand together, to create together. And I think so many people fall short with, don't get me wrong, I have 3 kids. Creation is beautiful, but we limit it to creating other humans. You guys now have this beautiful, brilliant, and I want you to share Live Free and Live Rich with us because it comes from the creation of you and Dean's soul connection and then the ripple effect of it, because I've had personal experience because you guys have helped the men and women in our sober houses, and you showed up at a time when it was very dark and very unknown in 2020. So share a little bit about, I love this too, the stealing of minutes. It's so important. Jimmy and I have decided that when he leaves in the morning, we have our connection. You know, we meditate, we hold hands every morning. And before he leaves, we kiss and we hug and we look at each other in the eyes. And like that has changed everything. So this deep soul connection that you guys have, you're doing your growth. And I love when these souls just like enter and Dean's just like plopped in and just knows this and just kind of has it. He would remind me, and we're going to have him on the show too. He's just one of those souls that came into this world, and from my perspective of his energy, he just gets it. Like he just had this innate wisdom, like he came in with it. So, can you share a little bit about what you guys, your soul connection, has created?
God, he's such a gift to this world. My mom used to say, like, he's one in a million. This is before, she knew we were together. He was just always there to help. Nothing happens on accident. Nothing. Everything in my life happened exactly the way that it was supposed to happen. Everything. I really believe everything happens for a reason. So I started to have these signs coming through, right? Like I'm doing the inward work, I'm researching synchronicities, spirituality, God, and I started to dive really into my alone time and I started to do my work. I was journaling, it saved me. I would write everything down. I would create, I would just take the time morning and night. During the day, I would stop and I'm like, ooh, that was a good thought. I was becoming so self-aware of my internal dialogue, which is huge to me to this day. I would catch myself. Whoa, what kind of thought is that? So I started to be open to this new dimension. Eileen, every morning we'd get out of the morning meeting and I'd go to sit at my desk and, okay, let me look at the clock. 9:07. I wouldn't care any other time later on during the day, nothing else. At night, 9:07. The
For
weight
anyone
of
who's listening to this and not watching, a few minutes ago, Jodi showed me her clock and she's on Texas time, Central time. It was 9:07 when she just showed me the clock. And I love that. That to me is a sign that God, the universe, source is here with us right now.
You're fully
So,
supported. If we're going
yeah.
to keep it simple, because this is, in this meeting, you and I know, but we'll keep it simple. You are so protected and supported and guided, and if you're just open to the signs and the direction and the internal, that intuition, that gut, what you called it, if you're just open to that, like you can really hear what your soul is saying, the guidance. So 9:07 was popping up. It was a joke within the office. Everybody's like, Jodi! And I'm like, I already saw it, 9:07. And then it would show up everywhere. The weight of a product on the box, 9:07. I get an email, 9:07, whatever it is, it was everywhere. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I printed out 9:07. This is like a year, maybe. So I printed out the numbers what they mean. And it would always sit next to me on my computer. And this was happening at work. I was in sales, right? I'm selling pharmaceutical products. And I'm selling, right? Calling people to sell. I'm making connections. And then I'm starting to get into my awakening. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't think this job is right for me. I don't think my path here does not align with this path here. So I had to find a way to merge them because I loved what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
It was almost like a masculine feminine pull for me. Like I'd show up and I gotta forcefully do this, but I just want to allow and I want to float and I want to enjoy and float in an ocean of love. Like that's all I want to do. But now I gotta get to work and get shit done. So I was working, pulling the energies, and then I finally found a balance. Mm-hmm. The day that I found the balance was, well, I'm not forcing these people to do anything. I love what I do. I'm helping them with something they need. Well, I just need to be a team with them and live my authentic truth. So I started to have conversations with people about 907. I would have conversations with my buyers about essential oils. I remember having like a 3-hour conversation. So it's just starting to, then I was merging these worlds and creating a new world and who I was within business, leading my team. Conversations and meetings started to shift because I was like, I don't want to drop this. I love it. Lights me up. It still lights me up today. Sets my heart on fire. So I was able to then merge the two and then just take them from there. So anyway, so
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One is, I know people are like, we want to know what 907 means to you.
So,
what is 907?
So
and the other one. Okay, yeah.
No joke. The day that I found peace, that I merged the two, I looked over at 907 and I'm like, oh my God. Dean's birthday, September 7th, 907.
Wow. Yeah. And
I was like, thank you, God. Like, I can't believe I didn't see that. It's nothing. You don't do anything with that. You just like, oh my God. The more I tune in, the more it makes sense. The more I hear it, the more I want it, the more I want to expand and open. It's the voices, the energy, everything is there. How could I miss it? And I walked into his office and I'm like hysterical. Like I just grew, expanded. And he's like, what's wrong? I was like, absolutely nothing. I'm like, you are the biggest gift and blessing in my life. And I just realized that you were put here exactly for this exact reason. And I'm so grateful for you and everything that you've been a part of in my life.
I think one part of this that is so powerful is we can search and we can search and we can learn to be quiet. But until we are completely and authentically in alignment with ourselves, we are not going to receive the fullness of the gifts that this universe has to offer. So by you saying that, it's like we can try as much as we want. But until, like you said, you merge the masculine and the feminine and you were courageous enough to bring the authentic version of you into your corporate world, and I feel like that's huge because that is happening on such a catastrophic level right now with these 9 to 5s, with all these systems. People are realizing I need to show up as the most authentic self because I'm dying inside. And so by you saying that, go ahead. What did you want to say?
I love that we just touched on this because this is part of Live Rich and we'll get into that. But a lot of people these days are wanting to quit their 9 to 5. Wanting to quit because their soul is saying something greater. But until you fully emerge and fully love what you think that you don't love, you can't move on because you're going to take you with you wherever you go. So my advice to anybody wanting to leave their 9 to 5 because it's in a box, you're stuck in a box, it's corporate, there's too many rules and regulations, like fall in love with that. Love it. Love the you within that space. And maybe you'll be surprised. Maybe it'll turn a different direction because that company needs you. You are there for a reason. You're there for a purpose. You're giving something. Ask, how can I add more value? How can I give more? How can I serve more? How can I show up as me and let divine take me there? Like, this is for the ones that, know that they're going to start their own business or align with their higher purpose or whatever, but give your absolute love. Pour your heart out. The moment that you think you want to leave, just give it a little bit more and see what happens.
I got a phone call the other day from a construction company, and the head of HR, who has been sober for a few years now, found my Instagram, and he said, I wanted to leave my job, but what I've realized is I need to implement the scary things like breath work and meditation into my company. And so I was wondering if you would be willing to help me do that. And that's exactly, this is where we can change these systems from the inside out. And I love that you said, this Instagram, social media is it's sneaky because it makes people want to up and leave. And the reality of it is you need to go within and really see, like you said, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? Because if nothing happens by accident, then where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. So can you share on this beautiful program? And can you share with how we got to this? Because we connected a week ago, but just now get into this beautiful program that you guys created.
We did. I was like walking around my house on the phone with you. I was just like energized and I'm like, okay, I just love people and I love connection and I love a human connection. And this is like something that my family will tell you, like my sister's like, oh, you just love people. I'm like, really? I love people? She's like, yeah, you love your job and you love people. I was like, this is a couple of years ago. I remember her saying this to me. I was like, yeah, I guess I do. And after I hung up with you, it was like my energy was through the roof. Yes, the human connection, but we were able to speak on like soul to soul. We were truly aligned with mission, purpose, life, all this good stuff. So it's nice to have that and have this conversation. Anyway, so Dean and I went through my sobriety, my recovery, everything, all that goodness. And at one moment, when I relapsed, he was like, okay, you want to go back to treatment. I was like, oh my God, no. I'll never do it again. Like, no. And he's like, we got to do something. He's like, I think that's what you have to do. And I'm like, okay, I trust that this is the right direction. So we get in the car and he go and we meet with one of the directors of the treatment center. And Dean and I sat down. Sorry, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was scared, shaking. I'm like, am I never going to see him again? Am I going to lose my relationship? Am I going to lose the support? And we walked into, I'm not going to use names, but we walked in and we sat down and he was rough, rigid. As he knew after all of his years of experience, the guy had to be tough, right? Tough love. And Dean's like, she relapsed, what are we going to do? What can we do? Can she come back to treatment? Can she still work? Like, this is her life, this is what's going on. Is that okay? He's like, she needs to cut off everything. She will come back to treatment 30 days, maybe 30 days, 60 days. And she's got to cut off every ties in her life. And maybe she'll do good. Maybe she'll do good. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, isn't she supposed to get better? This is what a rehab does, right? And he's like, it's, success rate is 4%.
Yeah.
Success rate going to treatment, rehab. So he's like, fuck? Yeah. Like he's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, oh no. And Dean's like, no, I'm not keeping her mediocre. No, she's got a great career. She's doing great. Like, this is just a little slip. And the guy's name, not going to mention, he's like, okay, she's not going to come back. She's going to die. And Dean's like, no, she's not. she will be just fine. She just needs a little bit extra help. He's like, that's fine. If you take her out of here and she doesn't go, that's on you. She'll die on your watch. And he's like, and Dean, when you get to meet him, he's like, F you, she's leaving with me. I'm gonna take this on myself. Right? Yeah. And we just walked out of there, and he was like, unbelievable that they treat people like that. And I'm like, but I understand, he's right. Like you don't know what you're dealing with, and like I need to go because you don't have a clue. Like I'll manipulate you, I'll lie to you, I'll think that I'm doing good, but I'm not doing good. Like there's so many factors. Like he's like, oh no, you're not remaining mediocre. They want to keep you, they want you to dim the light that's in you, that I know is in you. No, you're not going. So I didn't, and I went and stayed with Dean. We moved in with him, and he called my parents. He met with my dad, had a heart-to-heart, teary-eye moment with my dad. Like his name is Bob. I got Jodi, and they just aligned on that level. It's when my mom and dad started to meet him and get to know him and what he's done for me, and they're so grateful for that experience because they tried and couldn't, and it led me to him, and that's why mom says he's one in a million. So he took me out.
This is crazy. This is where you have to listen to your intuition, and you have to honor what your God gut is telling you. Because I love that you're sharing this, because this is one of those stories, and we all have these moments where everybody, including the specialists, are going to tell you that's a bad idea. That's not what you should do. That's not the way we do this. This isn't how it goes. But when you pause and you tap in and you have people, your community in your life that you trust, whether it's one person, that's all it takes, that's in soul alignment and has your highest and best, or if you're the only one standing there by yourself that has your highest and best, and you feel a call to do something differently, this is powerful. Because I can hear, that the worldly part of me is like, oh, no. Like, how is this going to work? And seeing you and what's come of this is the moral of this little snippet of your stories. You really do. You need lots of great ideas are at first going to look like insanity on the outside.
Absolute insanity. If Dean likes to do things his way, but I've watched him for 12 years. Every time, it's not rebellious. It's totally in line with who he is and what he knows and what he believes, and he's truly guided, and he just goes for it. And every time it works out. He has this quote, actually, every problem is a challenge, yet another opportunity to make things even better. So out of this problem was a challenge. What are we going to do? We made it into something. He made it into something even better. And Live Rich was born. Live Rich, Live Free was born through this craziness that I tell him, you really didn't need any of this in your life. Like, I'm glad you went through it with me, but like, I really could have lived
Good for you.
a little differently. Do you think that you would be doing this in your life if you didn't go through that? And he's like, yes. He says, yes. Like, if you didn't meet me, you didn't do these things, like, do you think you would be where you are? And he's like, absolutely. No doubt. So went against the system. Let's just use those words. And at the time, he was in Tony Robbins. He was in Tony Robbins' Life Mastery. He was a platinum partner. He was traveling every month with Tony Robbins and took me to, some events. And his knowledge and growth was like electric speed. I don't know, like Tesla speed, right? 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds or something. That was his. And I used to joke. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for you to take off. Like, I just need it. Let me just hold on to your leg. Like, you're taking off. I just try to hold on and keep up with you. And so from that moment, he took off and he was meeting people left and right. And he met Dr. Will Horton, who is in recovery for now almost, I think, 35, 40 years. But he was a psychologist, doctor, and he was part of the beginnings of our training. And he was talking with him about everything that I was going through because Will was helping him and kind of communicating. And he got his master of NLP. And hypnotist during these days as well. So I was his perfect candidate, Dean's perfect candidate to work on hypnosis. And we joke about it. We're like, yeah, you were a really good hypnotist because look at we're married. Like, you got me good. So with that knowledge base, with recovery and sobriety and everything that we have going on, he was like, I need to incorporate hypnosis into treatments and do something different. This is his mindset. What am I going to do? He's like, that's it. I'm going to buy a rehab. And me, like, are you sure you want to do that? It's rough. Like, people are saying 4% success rate. I'm changing that. I'm going to give 100% success rate. I'm like, I hear you. Like, go for it. And I was always there, like, supporting and guiding and really, like, pushing him to just push through. I didn't need to push him, but I felt like my role in it was just to bless it and appreciate him for the action that he was going to take. So he goes in with Dr. Will. They became good friends, and they went and found a treatment center that was for sale in South Florida. So they go and they meet with the treatment center, and they're like, I'm doing it. He was at a point in his life where he could do it, and I'm going to bring Dr. Will hypnosis. Nobody talks about hypnosis. I'm going to set people up for success. We're going to guide them into the next stage of their life, not just setting them free. Like, you needed support. You needed some kind of direction, and you didn't get direction going into sober living, which led us here as well. So now he's got Dr. Will, who's an expert. Dean is a hypnotist and an NLP and has got the heart for it. And then there was me, who was somebody who could give feedback on everything that was going on. And we started to really collaborate, which also, by thinking about helping others, it also gave me an extra sense of purpose. Mm. Right? When you help another, it's the 12th step. Yeah. As you know, when you help another, it helps you. And it was just like driving, just 2016, driving force. And we just kept going. And I'm like, this is it. He meets with the guys to buy the treatment center. And a pivotal moment, which I'm sure he'll share with you, a pivotal moment is that we want to keep the spark alive in the humans who are suffering. Let's help them recover, but keep that spark alive, not dim it, not put it in a box, not keep it quiet, not keep it monotone. Let's keep that spark alive. So we were creating Live Rich so that everybody can keep the spark alive. Self-awareness, self-discovery, internal work, do your work. Let's implement that into the treatment center. Treatment center came along, gave them all the books, all the numbers, all the profits, all the revenue, stuff that I didn't really care to see because I'm here to just help people. Mm-hmm. And Dean's a businessman. He's also an entrepreneur. So he's got a lot of years ahead of him. And he looks at this number, and it was like the largest profit of the treatment center. And he's like, what's that? Retention. What's retention? What does that mean? That's your money maker. People go out, but they come back. And they keep coming back. And he's like, what? Aren't you supposed to be helping people? Like, not come back? Isn't that where we're at? And he's like, well, yeah, Dean, but come on. It's 4% success rate. 95% failure. 4% success rate. And Dean says, you're missing 1%. And the guy looks at him and is like, they don't make it. And he's like, what? What are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Treatment center after treatment center? And this is just one. He's not speaking of all, but he is one. So he's like, how am I going to change this? What? If you went back in, there was a chance for you not to make. I'm like, yeah. And it's like treatment and rehab is like the number one way to recover. And we just shifted that. He shifted it. So he's like, absolutely not. I'm not buying this. I'm not getting into that. I'm going to find another way. And him and Will looked at each other. I still remember like it was yesterday. And Will's like, so let's do it online. This is way before any marketing, social media, any of that, 2016. And Will and Dean looked at each other, and Dean's like, I'm like, how the hell is that going to work? Like, You have to go somewhere, change the environment, right? You have to. And Will's like, no, change, if we do work on hypnosis, make that the primary, you work from the inside out. And if people can recover from the place that got them stuck, then oh my God, they're going to be more successful than anybody else. They're going to, they can handle any trigger, stressor, anything else that comes around.
Challenge,
Yeah, whatever it is.
relationship.
You're gonna, and I'm like, oh my God, divine intervention, turning a problem into a challenge, turning things around and making them even better. And that was the moment, May 1st, 2016, that Live Rich was born. And it is a 21-day online addiction recovery training. You can find it at liverich.org, which you know. Yeah. And we're just doing the work. I think the biggest blessing that we have is that Dean and I are constantly doing the work and learning and growing so that we can share. His mission is to work with people to help them and understand like themselves and their self-awareness. And his mission is to let people know. It's a big one. It's on our YouTube channel. It's such like a short little 1-minute video. Addiction is a problem until it's not, and then it becomes a driving force to live a better life.
Amen.
So you don't have to white knuckle it, right? You can. That was one thing for me in the beginning. I'm like, I see people just like going to meetings, drinking their Red Bull, drinking their coffee, and like this. I'm like, no. There's got to be more. So this is why the training, that's why it got created. That's how it got created, through finding a challenge and solving a big problem. Mm-hmm. If I could research the numbers now, which I'm not going to, I know what they are. It's just so many people just don't know that there's other options. Live Rich, I just share a little bit about where it is like people who can't leave their home because they have kids. So what? They're just going to sit and suffer? How do you show up for your kids if you're suffering, if you're depressed, if you're in addiction? Like, how do you show up? Well, I can't leave my house. Like, I have kids to take care of. I can't go to rehab for 60 days. If you want it, you'll find a way. But here, we'll help you. You do it from home. And the training is 21 days. We used to call it a program. So I'll tell you this. We used to call it a program. And very early on, we're like, how can we call it a program when people coming in don't even know what to do? So we need to train them. So that's why now it's Live Free training, because we're training you how to be a sober person, how to be in recovery. You got to be trained, right? You don't go to a new job and just start working. Like, you go through training. So here we are. We want people to succeed. So we're going to train you on how to think differently, how to live differently, how to do these things differently. And what's most important, Eileen, the most important thing is, and to get out of your head, you need to do something. You need to take action. You and I both know this very well. When we're in our head, when we're in our mind, right? You can drop down to your heart, and if that's not working, take action. Whether it's go clean the house, go do the laundry, go just take action. So when it comes to sobriety and the training, 21 days. In the morning, you get a hypnosis. So now you have to do something. You wake up and we give you a morning hypnosis. Do the hypnosis. Then you have journaling, which saved my life. Like, without it, I don't know. Yeah. So we incorporated journaling. So you journal, just write it all down, keep it all there. Everything that you want to write down, what's on your mind, just write it down. And then we have a live class, which is at a certain time during the day, whatever works for the group. And then also journal again, take notes, and you have some questions to answer. We have this all on the portal. And then at night, there's and then in the class, we also do another hypnosis, a live hypnosis with everybody. And then at the end of the day, there's also a last hypnosis before you go to bed. It's taking action. It's giving you something to do. And if you know about hypnosis, how it changes you from the inside out, right? You drop down, you get into your subconscious where you make all the changes rather than your conscious mind. You got to drop down to your subconscious mind, and it feeds you information and helps you change without necessarily knowing that you're changing. Right? Because if your mind knows that you're changing, what's it going to do?
It fights back. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So that's why really we believe wholeheartedly in hypnosis and the power of hypnosis and NLP, which is what Dean takes us through during the training. And it's 21 days because it takes 21 days to break a habit.
Yeah.
What's also super important that people know, and if I don't know who's going to see this video or whatever it is, I'm just sharing what my heart wants to share, is that we take you through the 21 days. We have the training can be purchased actually, and it's automated. But what we really love to do is have the live classes. But we take you through the whole training. We're with you the whole way. And then before you're done, day 21, this came from my need to stay connected. We have a Facebook community, we have a community, and we have people who have gone through the training are the support group for the next group of trainings, for the next group of trainings, for the next group. So maybe you're not going to be not a coach,
Sponsor.
Gosh, yes, I went blank. Sponsor, but that's the idea of it, is that, right? The minute that you feel you had your spiritual awakening and the openness to the connection, you just want to help somebody else. And I think it's a gift for everybody who's involved in that. So that's how we stay connected with the community, with Facebook, with messaging, whatever it is. And then we have Live Now.
So I want to say too, to anybody who's listening to this, I went through the 21-day this training, and you helped us when Jimmy and I owned our structured sober living programs, because we felt the same way, that the system was broken and we needed to do things differently. And so I'm sure everybody remembers 2020 and the lockdown. And so we were in the middle of, it felt like a crisis, because people were in early sobriety. They had gotten into a routine of going to meetings, of going out and doing things, of working. And now all of a sudden, everyone's stuck. And so we used it as an opportunity. We said, look, this is actually really powerful. You get the opportunity to sit with self. You get the opportunity to get to know yourself. We're going to help you. You know, we started doing meditations and sound healings, and I would go and do yoga. And then you and I reconnected, and Jodi and Dean had offered to do these courses with the men in our house and the women. And the feedback that these women gave to you guys and to me afterwards was, I believe that I wouldn't be where I am today without Live Free. I don't think I would be sober, because I was so afraid. I had this preconceived notion of what successful sobriety had to look like, 90 meetings in 90 days. Like, I had to go out and do the things. And when I had the gift of not only working on my sobriety, but tapping into my inside world come to me. And this is, again, 2020, this is virtual. People are like, wait, like, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, put these headphones on. Here it is. They're going to be in front of you. And I can remember the women, even afterwards, they would talk about the program. And some of them would sit together and do the meditations at night and the hypnosis at night. And so anybody who's looking for a program, like you said, if you're traveling, if you're a parent, if you don't have the luxury of leaving your house every day, go ahead and check out the show notes, and I'm sure you can sign up and at least go to livefree.org so you can get to know, and just to have you and Dean in your circle of support is worth it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So now you said, where is this program going?
So I had the insight to reach out to you back in 2020. I can't even remember where. I don't even know, but I was like, Eileen, and she has this guy, I think it's her husband, and they have these sober livings, and I'm like, love, I see that Leverage needs to be in sober livings. He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, why not? Like, even if it's like, like, I don't know, three or five people, it doesn't matter. But imagine, like, I know that's what I was missing. And I was telling you this early on, like, there has to be more. There has to be more. There's like, I got to feel differently. I need to, my energy just needs to be different, and staying here and going to meetings, like and then I started going to church, like, okay, I have these things, but there's something else. And that's why I believe that sober livings, if they're still even around, like so much has changed. I think this belongs in sober livings, because people are left. No, when you go to sober living, you don't have a job. Like you're told you're told to get a job and go to meetings, but what else? Get a sponsor, do the work. Okay, those things. But the inward growth comes from seeing things as they are and making the changes. So with the training, and hypnosis is a beautiful process. So I don't want to sell it. I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh my God, you got it. But I just believe so heartedly. So you're asking where we're going now or where we're at now. So that's Live Free training, which is powered by Live Rich. And Live Rich is, the meaning of Live Rich is being in love with all there is. So when you can tap into that feeling of being in love, living in a beautiful state with all there is, you're able to handle things that come your way. Somebody, right, like comes up that maybe you don't feel, or you don't like, or doesn't resonate with you, you still are able to appreciate them. You can still find ways to appreciate them, and you move on. There's no hate, there's no anger. Living rich is living a full life with completely from your heart. Mm-hmm. And where we're going is that it's this idea, it's this lifestyle. Let's call it a lifestyle that we are embracing and sharing. And like now the meaning, the word rich, live rich, the meaning that people used to give to it was negative, right? If people saw live rich, it was super like, oh, rich people, money. Mm-hmm. It has very, very little to do with money. It's how you live your life. And you and I were just talking the other day about wealth, right? Wealth. What does wealth mean to you? What does rich mean to you? So Live Rich is, we have Live Free training, recover, get recovered, work on yourself, do the work inward, then Live Now. Live Now is a program where we work with the ones who went through the training and live day to day. So we're working constantly. Let's set goals. What are your visions? What are your dreams? Where are you at? Like, what sets your heart on fire? That's mine. What sets your heart on fire? And do that. Write it down. Like, what just like really lights you up? Oh my God. I'm talking about like the people in the training, like write it down. What sets your heart on fire? Like make a list, find it. And then we do it together. And then at the end is Live Rich. How do you live rich? What does live rich mean to you? Where are you going to go from here? What's the quality of your life?
I'm so revved up about this because this is, again, like we've talked about, so in alignment with what I'm doing. And I wrote down so that I remembered you had said to me the other day, with living this lifestyle, that you decided to make a list of everything that brings you joy that you want to do. So instead of a bucket list, you said you just filled pages and pages of big things, little things that just bring you joy. And can you share on that a little bit? Because I think that people forget about fun and people forget about joy. And that, to me, when you say live rich, that is one of the richest, doing things in joy and in peace.
Life on your terms. And it's possible for everybody. It, like, what came to me is like I just like visualized and heard people like, but I can't, but I have this, but I got 5 kids, but I got 3 kids, but I got this. Like, it's absolutely possible. Anyway, so in my inward journey, which is always happening, I'm always placing intentions, learning. Like, I have my whole library of teachers that I've learned from over the years and I've seen live, and I just have this library that if I'm feeling a certain way, my goal is every day when I wake up just to feel good. Like, that's all it takes for my life to be good, is just to feel good. And I'll do whatever it takes just to feel good. And there's a little bit of limits, of course, but I'll do whatever it takes to feel good. So if I'm in a mood, I'll reach a certain mood. Like, I'll open up like Tony Robbins. He's with work and business, like I really look to him for like that kind of advice or direction, and I search there. Joe Dispenza, I've been to multiple events, and he's prominent in my life and Dean's life, the meditation and pulling the mind out of the body. And if I want to reach a certain place in my life, I need to change my energy. And then I have, so many other things. But in that moment, I was feeling, okay, my birthday is next month. And I made a decision 2 years ago that I was like, I always want to travel on my birthday because we love traveling. We're always traveling. But I just feel like it's a clear sign for me that like life is really good. If we're able to, whatever life is going on, we're able to decide we'll go away. Short trip, long trip, whatever it is. So that's a gift on my birthday. And I'm like, okay, well, we just went away last month and we're going away next week on a cruise that we've never done. And I was like, so maybe going away isn't really in the cards for March and we're going to be with spring break. And I sat there for a second. I'm like, what really, really sets my heart on fire? Like, what is that? And I'm like, ooh, I would love to go to a Joe Dispenza event for a week. Like, just tuned in, tapped in. That's what I do. But he doesn't have an event. And I'm like, okay, well, I love growth. So that's what my life is about. Top 6 human needs. It's about growth and love and connection. So love and connection. And I just sat there and I was like, let me just write down, like, what do I really love? Oh, I love dancing. I love music. I love people. I love connecting. I love my family. I love doing things that my family loves. I love happiness. I love seeing people happy. What it is. I love my mission. I love my purpose. I love working. Like, I'm crazy. Like, maybe I should just stay home and work.
Maybe I just love this. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I just love this feeling. So I'm after a feeling and what sets my heart on fire. And I ended up writing, I think this is the day I talked to you, like 3 pages. I love serving people. I love helping people. Maybe I'll go feed the less fortunate. Maybe if I donate. I mean, all of these things were resonating with what I truly love. And I looked back and I'm like, I love my life. I love this version of me. I love it. And out of that, Dean came in and I shared with him. And I was like, I think I need to do this more often. Like, remind myself. It's so easy. Like, and it was the silliest things. But like, that's what makes me happy, right? When you're in a marriage and you have a family and you have work and mission and purpose, you have all these things. Sometimes you lose track of the fun or that little kid, that joy inside of you. And I was, again, just guided to make this list. And out of that, share with you, which is crazy. I mean, I love music. I love house music. I love energy. I love running. I love working out. Like, I love all these things. I was like, okay, maybe like a new yoga class or Pilates class, like, or some high energy. Maybe I'll do Zumba. This is what was happening to be truly fulfilled. So Dean decided he's going to surprise me, and he booked us a trip to Las Vegas, and we're going to go to see one of the great DJs, David Guetta, in one of the resorts. We're just flying in for like 2 days, and we're flying out. And I'm going to dance my butt off and fill my soul with love and happiness and joy and people and energy. And I was like, that's the best I can do. And that's where we're at. So if I could share this with anybody, it's more female. Just share that with you as we are talking. Everything that we share is very feminine, and thankfully Dean's coming on to share with you some, of his side of it.
Yeah.
I share, if I could tell any female, do it. Write that list of that little things that you just like, love, and it'll build the momentum to really find that playfulness, that joy, that flow, the things that make you really happy inside.
Yeah, remember who you are. I think we do. Our feminine energy has been suppressed because we live in a very masculine world. And so then we get into, the habit of just doing. I can say as a mom and relating to all the moms, like, yeah, we just do, we do, we do, we do. And instead, what is it that we want to be? And how do we want to feel? And so that is great. I think that taking some time in the next few days and just writing a list. And I think when I think back to who I was years ago when I started my self love journey, it was scary to sit down to a piece of paper because I had all these preconceived judgments of myself. What if I don't? What if I never find what I love to do? What if what I'm doing right now is what I'm supposed to love? And what if I don't love it? And what if there's nothing else? Like, I remember having that breakthrough, and then the power of, so when you said this list, that is what people should, that's where people should start. Definitely go ahead and check out, what is it, livefree.org.
It's liverich.
Liverich.org. Make your list of fun and joy. Take notes, right now when you're done listening to this episode, and just sit with self and see what resonated with you. Jodi, I love you. I love, love, love the connection that we have. I love that we both have sobriety in common, and there is no coincidence that our joy, our purpose is to help others through our journeys. And I'm just really grateful that you're here. So if you're listening to this, go ahead, and where can people find you besides liverich.org?
Well, liverich.org, you'll be able to just see the training and what it entails. We do have a YouTube channel. We do have a Liverich Instagram. I am on Instagram, but I really don't post much. Dean has an Instagram who doesn't post much, but our really Liverich it's an organization, and we use it not solely like by person, which
Yeah.
we were actually defining it the other day.
Good. So maybe people listening to this, if you have an organization, if you have people in your life who could use something differently than maybe the typical 30, 60, or 90-day treatment, definitely go ahead and give this. Just check it out. Check it out. Thank you for being here. You are loved. You are supported. You are so worth it. And we will talk to you again.
I appreciate you. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.